One rotten lemon can ruin the entire bowl. And in November, I had a one rotten lemon, one toxic client that almost did the exact same thing to my business. But just like a bowl of fresh lemons, the project started out full of promise. It was vibrant, it was like beautiful, it was full of potential until it wasn't. So when I tell you about a client I fired, let me give you the reasons why I first took the opportunity to do this. Number one, they really love my ideas, even right down to the mood board. Number two, the mood board apparently shared many of the exact same images that the artist had in their own setup of images. So I look at that as like, oh, that's really cool. We're on the same page. Sometimes people say that and they're very honest about it. Sometimes they don't and they just want to be able to say, oh, I also had that idea. This is going to be red flags galore from my experience to you. And if I could be absolutely transparent with you, one of the things that I want to do in my videos moving forward is to be even more transparent and be less perfect. So even if you'll notice probably throughout this video, I first start out with hi, very official, and then I'll just get right down into the trenches and tell you about it. And it's something I'm trying to invite myself to do more, just so that we could just be on the same page. And it's like a true conversation. So they love the mood board. I also want to say that the record label executive who has referred me many clients, who is somebody that I trust, still trust, have worked with in the past and will work with in the future, wrote me a text and is like, this, you see the exact words on screen, this pitch is phenomenal. It tied it all together in a way that I do all of my mood boards, and we will do more videos about that. But it tied it so well together that they were saying, Walid, we didn't know that you did creative direction too. Would you also be the creative director? So in a weird way, it was like this trifecta of photographer, director on this site, and then on the top of it would be the creative director. Even though it is difficult to be a director or photographer and creative director at the same time, because technically they come from two different sides of the aisle. But that takes like replacing your hats and saying, right now I'm not the photographer, right now I'm not the director, I'm only serving as the creative director. Anyways, they were very impressed with what I had brought. Now this seems very self-serving, but it was a very self-serving moment. And they also wanted to bring me on as the creative director. So I thought this is a really, really big opportunity to be able to do all of these things for one artist. Also, what I love about working with established artists is that they are established and there's a track record and there's like a certain level of prestige to be able to work with them. But also what I love about brand new artists is that I have a clean canvas and I could do it and I can design it the way that I think is perfect for them. Although we had an indie budget, which I was warned about first, and it's an indie record label, which I was warned about first, but they had an investor. So sometimes that could equal regular record label costs. Not all money was lost, but there was like a healthy enough dose of a budget that I entertained it. And again, it's about the new clean canvas for me when you work with a new artist. It started to, this is the first red flag. And even telling you right now, I'm like, yo, how did you fall for that? But I didn't fall for it. I still have hopes for it, but I did fall for it at the same time. So you tell me in the comments, because this is community effort. But again, a beautiful bowl of lemons, right? Well, there were signs that I saw and I kind of ignored it, just like this lemon. If I'm being really, really honest with you, I saw some markings on one of the lemon a couple days ago and I did exactly the same. I ignored it, or I basically painted red flags white. So at first, it did seem kind of like a dream project, like the bowl of fresh lemons. I need to stop saying fresh lemons, but they were. And as time went on, the small marks, they kept increasing and they began to appear more from the underbelly of it and start coming to the sides. And those marks were really, really, really hard to ignore. And I knew that when I saw this bowl of lemons, I was like, gosh, this is the analogy. I've been wanting to make this video about why I fired my client, but I've been waiting for the right moment. So you see a bowl of lemons, and this analogy is going to go where you expect it to go, okay, when we say in English about lemons. But let's talk about the red flags that Walid ignored. And you're always going to be going through this in your career, and it's good. It's just good to see somebody professionally admit to things and see how they messed up so that you learn from my skills. Number one is, the first sign was they were like, Walid, we love the idea for this video. Can you also come up with ideas for blank, blank, and blank videos? And that kind of makes me a conveyor belt, which I'm not happy with. And I'm not a factory of ideas. I go and I build each one custom. Because what I do is has humanity, and I put thought and reason behind every single one of them. And you might be wondering, okay, but you just said one video, right? One album cover and then creative direction. As we started moving, they started taking videos away from other directors and saying, look, we love your vision so much. Why don't you just direct the next video? Why don't we line you up for the third video too? And at this point, I got to tell you, it was a pretty big flag for me. But I also feel, if I'm being really transparent with you, a tiny bit of greed come on. And I was like, you know what? I could literally set this artist up for a lot of success. Sign number two is greed ain't gonna get you nowhere, okay? But sign number two is that the budget ballooned up and contracted, and ballooned up and contracted. I did a crazy amount of work with the numbers. Like, for example, okay, so the first numbers that they said, well, you have $25,000, which is for the album cover and which is for the first music video. That's below my rate. I'm not accepting that. And while you may say, oh my God, $25,000 sounds like a hell of a lot of money, I'm also paying editor, and I'm paying colorist, and I'm paying studio, and I'm paying them and them and them and them and them. It does balloon up also. So you cannot have me for director of multiple videos, but or at that point, one video. You cannot have me as a creative director, and you cannot have me as a photographer of the album package for $25,000. No, sir. No, ma'am. But even if I tried to skimp, even if I tried to do outside shoots so we wouldn't have to do a studio shoot, the lowest that I could do was $32,000. I looked at him and I was like, I can't work for $25,000. Like, I have to pay a lot of people. Third red flag. So they emailed me and said, would you be able to come into the office? I have a unique proposition for you. And I thought, okay, well, that's great. So I did go into the office. I did entertain it. And the thing about working with me and recording artists is that I give recording artists my all, because they put their heart and soul into that music, and then it's like a baby that they no longer can make it complete, and they need me to go and put the visuals. You picked me from everybody else in LA. I'm gonna okay, what can I say it? I'm going to honor your commitment. I'm going to honor your project. Okay, so I went and I had a meeting, and they offered me how much? This much, $40,000. And I was like, oh, this is good. This is good. They're willing to work with me. And they said, okay, but that includes the album packaging. That includes the promo images, which was always included in the album packaging. And then they said it also has to include not one music video, the big premiere one, but also a second music video. And they remember how they kept saying, can you come up with an idea for this video? And I would make a treatment. And then they were like, can you come up with an idea for that video? I'm like, okay, let me just see what happens. And I had a little moment at that time, and I started creating a treatment for the next video. And as you can see from the bowl of lemons, it's starting to now bleed into other lemons. It's starting to now bleed into my day-to-day work. So I creative direct for a marketing agency. I have other clients. I am studying things. I have a family. I have a personal life. I'd like to eventually go and start working out again. I want to have all of it. And so this started to take away. It started to spread. The mold started to spread, much like our beautiful bowl of lemons. Which, side note, I don't know what is up with Trader Joe's always selling produce. If you have an issue with Trader Joe's, they always sell produce that goes bad in 2 to 3 days. I need to say that if someone from Trader Joe's views this video. So $40,000, now I have 2 music videos. Remember, I said a music video, they were trying to offer me $25,000 for 1 music video and 1 album package. And I came in at 32, slashing everyone's rates and trying to like do DIY this as much as possible. Now for an extra 15,000, you want me to do a whole other music video? It's just not going to work. In fact, I thought this isn't a promotion of the budget. This is actually worse. Next red flag, I've lost count. I thought it was 3, but it could be 4, is eventually we agree on a compromised budget. I thought that was great. I said, okay, we're going to do it. We found the number. And even they asked me if I would want to take the producing off my table. Normally, my company would be doing the producing also. And the thing is, normally, I don't like to let go of that because it all goes hand in hand. My production company will produce it, and I will direct it for my production company, until they did a little bit of a bait and switch. And you guys, this is a very common trick in the industry, in the entertainment industry, is that they'll promise you something and then they will forget that they ever mentioned it, and you better hold on to that and hold them to it. So they had said that a very, very big A-list celebrity that was a friend of theirs, and I know that because from their Instagram, was going to produce it under their production company. And I thought, okay, well, I don't have to produce it. I don't have to put in time for that. And also, it's kind of a good look to be able to produce a project for this huge mega star. I agreed, and I said, okay, this is a win-win. Okay. A few days later, another red flag. So they brought a producer on board, and I said, oh, do you work with so and so company? And she said, no, I don't. And I said, oh, is this going to be produced by so and so's production company? And she said, I haven't heard anything about that. The bait and switch, guys, is like, that is my sign to exit the room. I should have exited, but I wanted to just like think about it and ask a few people in my community. You guys need community people, which by the way, the Discord is going to be linked down below, and we are going to be starting a community because I know that you guys need it. Then the final red flag was this. I had one caveat. I will compromise on the budget. I will shoot you 2 music videos. I had one damn caveat. My DP, my editor. That is it. I want my editor mainly, and that's who I want to work with, because if it's a new project, if it's a new team, it's a lot easier for me to fight for the vision when the editor has experience and loyalty to me. They agreed and they said absolutely no problem. It was great, and I said, okay, let's move forward. And then when I asked the new producer about the production company with said A-lister, she was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then she said, so let's find you an editor. And I said, oh, what are you talking about? I have my editor, and here's my editor's link. And before I could send the editor's link, she said, well, I don't know if we like that editor. And, and I said, how do you even know who my editor is? How do you know? Because I haven't shared their name, nor have I, besides the first name, and I haven't shared their work. Well, okay, let me see the work. I showed the work. I knew that they weren't going to like it, not because of the caliber of work of my editor, but because they wanted their own. And I know that they wanted to probably bring somebody in as a favor, and that just means I've now lost full control. When I gave up all the hiring of the other crew and everybody, I knew that it was going to be taken care of, but I just needed my editor because that's the second half of storytelling. And I knew that it was more about them trying to save a dollar and trying to start favors here and there. And when there is nothing my father taught me is there is nothing more expensive than free. So I felt like God, I'm giving you guys all the drama without sharing the name, so I want to do this ethically. But I felt like I was playing soccer and they kept moving my goalpost. And my personality is that when I'm done, I'm done. I don't remix things. I don't come back and go, let's try it again. I will give you not one chance, I will give you multiple chances, to the point that I question my own sanity. But that's what happens when you deal with really loyal people. Loyal people will give you many chances. But once you lose the loyalty of a loyal person, there is no chance of going back. And so once I realized everything is moving, they're constantly moving the goalposts and everything, I pulled out of everything and I sent them this letter. And out of respect, I sent the artist and I sent the record label that letter. After they got it, then I sent it in a text to the producer. And she wrote a lovely text back a couple days later. Then I sent the same letter and I explained to the person that referred me why I had to pull away. At this time, I found out a couple of other teams that he had referred also pulled away from this person. So I was like, okay, then I'm not crazy. So I wanted to give you all of this. But why did I start with all of the lemons? Remember that the bad lemons, they're going to teach us just as much as the good lemons. The bad lemons in this bowl, I want you to see how it starts to creep up where I don't even know it. Next thing I know, the next day it's affected the next lemon. And I think if I left it another day, it would affect the next lemon. Now, if you look on this video, you see that each lemon actually coincidentally represents a different side of my business. And I see it starting to creep up and I see it starting to have an effect and start to damage. One rotten fruit spreads to the next and then the next. And that's why I felt this project was. I let it go too far, just like I let the lemons go too far. It started to affect my creativity, my creative direction clients. It started to affect current projects in photography. It started to affect my health. I kind of started having little palpitations of anxiety. It started to affect my business growth. It started to affect my pocketbook, and it started to affect progress at the end of the year, where I want to end it up in a high note. This was really shoving me down. So I pulled the plug, and I urge you to see how one bad client can start to spread in toxic ways that you don't even know until it's too late across your life. When I look at it, maybe I'm saying this to make myself feel better. I care about people's music. Maybe that's why I didn't leave, and I wanted to make sure that this artist, who is very incredibly talented, had an incredible album cover and rollout and music video and overall creative direction. Maybe that's why I didn't leave. Or maybe I just need to be recalibrated, and maybe I need to learn some lessons. And I thought, okay, well, if that's the case, I'm going to share it with you. Let me finally say this, that once the damage is done, it's really difficult to recover from that. As you see me scrubbing this lemon, washing it with soap and a sponge and grating it and all that, I could potentially get rid of the problem. It's very difficult. I may get rid of the problem, but the marks are there. And the marks are going to be your reputation in this business, and it's going to sink your business. Same thing in your business. Think of those scars as business reputation scars. Too many scars and people don't want to mess with you. In this case, how I made those lemons into lemonade, which is all right here, is that I looked at it as an opportunity to recalibrate, to relearn, to clearly communicate with the person that referred me and say, here's why I walked away. And he said, you're not the only one that walked away, Walid, so I'm good there. And I wish this artist and this artist team a lot of success, because the talent needs to be heard by the world. Just the visuals need to be created by another creative, not myself and not you. Thank you so much. My name is Walid Azami. My website is right there, and you will not see that artist's work anywhere on my website.